Welcome back, Ninja community and persons that might have watched my quality statement disclaimer video. If you haven't seen that already, you should probably go and check that out. Now in this video, I'm going to be covering some double nunchuck techniques, but before I get into some double nunchuck techniques, I'm going to cover some more single nunchuck techniques. This is a continuation of my previous videos, and if you haven't seen those already, you should probably go and check those out as well. Now, if you haven't seen my quality statement disclaimer video, I will go over that real quick, mostly because some of these techniques are kind of deadly, if not lethal. Okay, so before I get into demonstrating these techniques and explaining their application, how they're used in a real fight, how they would be utilized in a real fight highly effectively, I will go over my quality statement and disclaimer real quick, mostly for liability, so bear with me. The viewer understands my quality statement and disclaimer video, additionally agrees that this video could be treated as is with ballistic protection, which in short means I don't have a seal on it, therefore I don't guarantee the techniques and or your application of the techniques. And if you're watching this video with the intention of using its content in committing a crime, that is additionally a crime. Actually using my content in committing a crime is an additional crime. Also, the viewer understands that this is my intellectual property that I'm allowing people to view. Okay, so anytime you start any training with nunchuck, I definitely highly advise that you do the check. You pop the rope. This is mostly to check to make sure that the rope will not break on you. This is why it's mostly done at the beginning of just about every kaida. Okay, and I've actually had more chains break on me than ropes. So keep that in mind. The check is something that should probably always be done. Okay, for people who haven't seen my previous videos. Okay, so we'll get into the first technique that I would show. I won't go over the other techniques in my other videos. Okay, is this catch. It can be done from different positions, and it seems very simple. Okay, and again, I advise that when you learn a new technique that you get proficient at moving with it. Okay, the practical application of this simple move, okay, is if an opponent has decided that they're going to even the advantage that you have wielding a nunchuck if they are not wielding a weapon, because you have a lot more reach, right? You can hit further. If they have decided that they're going to equalize that advantage, this throw is a wrap around the back of their head, right? And from here it can work into things like neck cranks or throws or neck breaks. However, I will not cover those in this video. So this move seems very simple, yet is highly effective in a real fight if you know the application. Okay, which gets me into the next technique that I would show, and I would show it at around this, in this order, and that is how to resist the neck crank. And that is to place both your arms here, right, or here. Okay, a lot of forms will show the behind the neck catch as their first move, and most of them don't even know the application. The application is just to resist this. I particularly don't like to practice that move, like the throw and catch, because the application is simply getting familiar with having your both arms here, or in some forms, probably not recognized forms, the resistance would be here. Okay. So the next move that I would cover is behind the back. And the reason I wouldn't cover this one earlier in the other videos where it seems like I cover more complex moves is to prevent someone who's just learning from getting into bad habits of putting the nunchuck behind the back and working into other moves. Okay? Bad habits are kind of difficult to untrain. Okay? The application of putting it behind the back, and then again, there's also training with moving with it, right, is to avoid being disarmed, right, from someone who is skilled at disarming. Now, which gets me into the next technique. If you've seen my other videos, I cover an across the knuckle spin. This one, if someone has already practiced that, doing a double across the knuckle spin is preparing someone to become skilled at disarming someone with a set of nunchucks. Now, the best place to hold a nunchuck is in the center. This gives a balance between power and control. Think of it like a baseball bat, and this is the end. Okay? It is a balance between power and control. Okay. Now getting into the next technique that I would show is the overhead flail. Okay? The overhead flail. Now if someone raises their arms up like this, in some forms that's, I suppose, okay. However, I would not raise my elbow above my shoulder typically. Okay, so it could come from here, or it could come from here if you're, I suppose, learning the technique, right? And it is here. But from here is where I would show. Okay? Just overhead flail, right? So, which is ironically ambiguous with using a European style flail. Now the European style flail evolved from a very similar farming tool than the nunchuck did, but one was in Europe and the other was in Asia. In Europe, it was more popular, like the flail was more, the shields, like the Viking style shields, became popular because of how the Vikings excelled at utilizing shields. The flail is highly effective, and it's even been banned from being used in some competitions, mostly because of accidental deaths and injuries. It's very effective with a shield, and it evolved slightly different. The original farming tool, they both look more similar because one end, like compared to a nunchuck, was shorter and heavier. So the nunchuck evolved into both being equal because it was important to swap hands and or use two at the same time. The flail was more popular because of the shield. The shield was made popular mostly because the Vikings were very effective at using shields. And these were like huge, robust people. And they typically had a blind spot on the left side. Okay? And they made up for that using the Viking round shield. Okay. So, now I'm getting into some double nunchuck moves. Okay? Now, this is a set I made here at some Ninja Arts and Crafts. And if you're beginning training it would probably be better to start with a matching set. But I'm going to demonstrate with this crazy huge set of nunchucks. Okay, also in Asia, it was more popular to use 2 weapons than it was to use a shield at all. And usually it would be like a sword and like a shorter blade. Okay, so I will demonstrate double nunchuck, like beginning moves for double nunchuck, or where I would start training someone at double nunchuck. Okay. Now the first moves that I would show would come from up here. And it would just be a simple diagonal strike. Very simple. And once someone feels comfortable with a diagonal strike, train moving with a diagonal strike. Again, if you have a solid foundation of movements while striking, you can build on that by simply walking. If you don't have a particular form, you're simply walking forward would be a great benefit. Okay, so that is the first move that I show with double nunchuck. After that would be the downward strike to the center. Okay, then I would get into this again and synchronizing it, as opposed to just one at a time. It would just be synchronizing. And then going here would merely be intuitive. Okay. The next move on here that I would show is the catch here. The student might even become intuitive since they have become familiar with some of the earlier moves. They might even start doing these catches. Okay. The next move that I would show would be the triangle. Then I would show down and with a spin. Down and with a spin. Spin down, spin back. Spin down, spin back. And we go here. And if someone has become comfortable with that, you're simply moving around. Because in a real fight, you don't want to be standing still. And if you start moving and using nunchucks, you're going to make somebody kind of nervous and they're probably going to run away. As I have experienced seeing people run away once I have started using a nunchuck and moving. Okay. So, now getting to the triangles. Okay. And these strikes at the same time. The triangle is more difficult, and I would not show that. I'd probably start here, getting them familiar with this, before showing the triangle on here, or telling them to do the triangle. However, showing them and telling them is entirely different. Okay. A lot of times, in some forms, they will practice nearly all their moves with a single nunchuck before they move to a double nunchuck. This is kind of bad practice in my opinion. It is better to start with 2 with some of the simplest moves so that someone doesn't try to mix them up and blend them into making mistakes. Okay. So if you watched the video so far, why not hit like hard like a ninja and subscribe to my channel to be alerted for when I do videos on YouTube. Now this is a continuation video. Go check out those other videos if you haven't already. Okay, I suppose I should tell you that you can find me on Facebook under my artist name or my tip ninja name, Mel-L, that's M-E-L-E-O. And I have an Instagram, but I'm not going to tell you what my Instagram name is. You'll just have to be ninja and go figure that out yourself. Okay, you can feel free to comment on this video, and you can share my video with people who are ninja, but not with people who ought to be ninja, because they might accidentally learn something. I think I have pretty much covered the techniques that I wanted to cover in this video. So until next time, stay ninja, my friends. Stay ninja.